Hello, welcome back to Creeping It Colorful. Today is Sinister Saturday, another late night one. Mark is going to be reading possibly two stories in the Unsolved Deaths book, so I'll let him get started. I just want to let you know real quick that the page that I'm coloring is from the Alan Roberts Backwards Records Beauty of Horror 7 book. And it is going to be in honor of Mother's Day tomorrow. And it's going to be the Norman Bates page from Psycho. Here's Mark.
There we go. Try to make this sound a little better than last time. Unsolved deaths, strange deaths, and mysterious disappearances. The contents have different categories of stories: the disappeared, and killers unknown, accident, suicide or murder, conspiracy killings, and they were all lost group tragedies. So this is under the disappeared. Kind of go through some of these stories because not all of them are all that interesting, but they're kind of short, so might read more than one at a time. I'm going to start with, how did the terrifying Vlada the Impaler meet his end? And starts date December 1476, location Wallachia, Romania. Count Dracula's namesake, a devilish 15th century prince in what is now Romania, may have been killed in a military skirmish in 1476, but his body was never found. Vladislavia III, Prince of Wallachia, became known as Vlada the Impaler in Romania from the gruesome humiliation he inflicted on his enemies when he impaled their bodies on stakes, supposedly putting 100,000 people to death in this terrifying way. He is also known as Dracula, meaning son of Dracul. His father had taken the name Dracul, a dragon, when he joined the knightly Order of the Dragon, founded by the Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund to fight the Ottoman Empire. Wallachia was a dangerous place at the boundary between the Muslim Ottoman Empire and Christian Europe, and Vlad knew all about the Ottomans. For 6 years after his father had become Prince of Wallachia in 1442, he and his brother Radu were held prisoner at court by the Ottoman Sultan Murad II. To ensure their father's good behavior, Vlad left and returned home in 1448, the year after his father had been assassinated by unruly boyars or local noblemen. For 8 years after that, Vlad fought for control of the principality, or briefly taking power in 1448, but being ousted and finally winning out in 1456. One account tells how he invited the boyars who had risen against his father to dinner, seemingly extending the hand of forgiveness and fellowship, but then had his troops murder them and mounted their mangled bodies on stakes as a final insult. Above, there's a picture of them all impaled, and Vlad is sitting at a table. Looks like he's preparing to eat, and he has a...
I can show the picture real quick. I don't know if you can see this, picture. This is the picture he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pictures in this, and
I can't keep doing that because I get up and down all the time.
it says the woodcut depicts Vlada callously sitting down to his dinner alongside his impaled victims. Wonder what was on the menu. Folk hero. 3 years earlier, Constantinople had fallen to the Ottomans. For his tireless campaigns against the Turks, Vlad became celebrated as a folk hero. In these years, he consolidated his fearsome reputation as the Impaler. Famously, in 1462, he left thousands of victims impaled on a battlefield to deter Ottoman troops from pursuing him. On another occasion, he reputedly spiked a group of Ottomans in a different way. The story goes that he had a meeting with envoys from the Ottoman Sultan to discuss a peace settlement and asked them to remove their turbans as a mark of respect. When they refused, he had his men nail the turbans to their heads so that they need never take them off again. The life and by name of Vlad the Impaler seem to have been inspirations to Bram Stoker, Irish author of the vampire classic Dracula in 1897. A whole series of novels, radio and stage plays, TV shows, and classic movies sprang from Stoker's Gothic novel about a count from Transylvania in Romania who bites his victims in the neck to draw their life blood, which, as a member of the undead, the count needs to drink to survive. Stoker read about the horrific Vlad the Impaler in a book called An Account of the Principalities of Wallachia and Moldavia by British diplomat William Wilkinson, and reputedly told his son Irving that he had a terrifying dream afterward. It inspired a deathless classic, Defeat and Death. In December 1476, Vlad was defeated in a skirmish somewhere between Guguriu and Bucharest with an army led by Royal Prince Basarab Leota, who had Ottoman backing. According to one version of what happened next, supplied by an ambassador to Buda from Milan, the victorious Ottomans sliced Vlad's body into pieces. Another account comes from Antonio Bonfinia, an Italian humanist historian at the court of King Mathis Corvinus in Hungary, who said the prince's head was sent as a trophy to Muhammad II. The same fate, according to some, that befell defeated Byzantine Emperor Constantine. Boy, that's lots of twisted words for Enoki. Some say Vlad's remains were buried in the Snagov Monastery, Budapest, but in the 1930s, archaeological investigations found that the site said to be his grave contained the remains of horses. Another theory was that he was buried in a monastery fortress near the battlefield where he supposedly died. Whatever became of him, he achieved immortality through his namesake, Count Dracula. Little footnote, strange stories. A new theory emerged in 2014 about what happened to Vlad after the 1476 skirmish. Scholars from Tallinn University, Estonia, argued that he was taken prisoner and hauled off in chains by the Ottomans, destined for imprisonment or a grisly execution, but then he was ransomed by his daughter, Maria, who was living in Italy. The scholars purpose that Vlad is buried in the gentile surroundings of Santa Maria la Nova Church in Naples, a tomb there in the same churchyard as his daughter's grave is decorated with a dragon suggesting Dracula and two sphinx, which are said to be a reference to Thebes, also called teepees. There's that might be on Dracula's.
Hopefully you can see that picture also.
Yeah.
Might be a glare on it.
That's over his tomb there,
That was his tomb.
I guess. All right, well, that's that story. Was that as long as the others or a little shorter? I think it's next one. I don't know if you want me to do it now, but it's not near as long.
Well, it's okay. Just put it on there.
This is the one I was looking forward to. Were Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid nailed in that final shootout? Date, November 7th, 1908. Location, San Vicente, Bolivia. Wild West outlaws Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid were famously killed in a shootout near San Vicente, Bolivia in the early hours of November 7th, 1908. Or were they? Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, real names Robert Leroy Parker and Harry Longabaugh, fled to South America in 1901 when lawmen threatened to catch up with them in the U.S. Members of the notorious Wild Bunch, they robbed trains and banks across the western U.S. through the 1880s and 1890s. Their lives and their supposed end were immortalized in the iconic 1969 movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, directed by George Roy Hill and starring Paul Newman as Butch, Robert Redford as Sundance, and Catherine Ross as Sundance's girlfriend at a place, and with a celebrated Burt Bacharach score. Robert Leroy Parker embarked on life as an outlaw in around 1884 and took his name from his mentor Mike Cassidy. After a couple of years as a cowboy and 2 in Wyoming prison from 1894 to 1896, he teamed up with Harry Longbaugh. Longbaugh took his name from the town of Sundance, Wyoming. Been there. Where he was imprisoned for the only time in 1887, age 17. After stealing a horse among the Wild Bunch outlaws, he was reckoned to be the fastest and best shot. Going wild, the story goes that during 1896 and 1897, Butch Cassidy called together around 200 outlaws to a meeting at Brown's Hole, a valley near the point where the Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming borders meet. He proposed setting up a syndicate of train robbers, which became known as the Wild Bunch. Butch did not, in fact, become the leader, because after contesting this position with Kid Curry, real name Harvey Logan, he gave way. The Wild Bunch worked in small groups, robbing trains and banks, rustling cattle, and stealing horses. They were the most successful bank robbing crew in the West. On the run, Sundance at a place, and Butch escaped Pinkerton detectives by fleeing to New York City in 1901 and then moved on to Argentina, where the three tried to go straight and run a ranch for 4 years. In 1906, they embarked on a fresh crime spree, robbing mines, trains, and banks in Argentina, Chile, Peru, and Bolivia. In 1907, Sundance helped Etta, who was unwell, return to the U.S., then went back to his partner in crime in Bolivia. The official story is that the pair were cornered by Bolivian cavalry and died in a shootout on a bordering house near the mining town of San Vicente, Bolivia. 2 American outlaws had robbed an agent of a mine and seized the payroll money, around 15,000 pesos. The owner of a boarding house became suspicious, alerted the authorities, and Bolivia police and soldiers surrounded the building. During the ensuing gunfight, 1 soldier was killed and 1 injured. Then later on, one of the men inside was heard screaming in pain. A shot was heard in the house, and the screaming ceased. Then a second shot rang out, and all was quiet. On entering the house, the police found two bodies and surmised that one of the bandits had been fatally injured and his partner had killed him to end his agony before taking his own life. The locals identified the two men as the robbers of the payroll, but did not succeed in proving that they were Butch Cassidy and Sundance. The corpses were buried in the local cemetery. Experts have since attempted, without success, to find physical remains that could be identified as those of the outlaws. Strange story. As a result of there being a lack of identified remains, the final fate of the two outlaws is a mystery. One account claims they were killed when a bank robber went wrong in Mercedes, Uruguay in 1911. Others report that they managed to go underground and return to the U.S. Some say Butch made a living in Mexico and the U.S., notably Alaska, until the 1930s, and then he died in 1937, possibly in Joanne, Nevada, or Spokane, Washington. Several people claim he was seen in Baggs, Wyoming, a former stomping ground of the Wild Bunch, driving a Ford Model T car in 1924. Meanwhile, some people claim that the kid lived on under the name Harry Long, perhaps in Casper, Wyoming, and survived until the 1930s, or even in one version to the 1957. Now, that's about it for this episode of Unsolved Deaths.
That was our first take on that book. I hope that was a little bit interesting for you. That was kind of an odd duo of stories. Went to the Western and went to vampires. So that was... If you heard a little banging, I apologize. I was trying to get this metallic marker to work, and you have to like pump them in order for the paint to come down, and it's been forever since I used it, and so it was a little bit finicky with me. And so I tried to do the wheel wells with those and her knife. Good old mama here. Norma Jean Bates. How many of you have seen this movie? Well, anyway, getting back to the stories real quick. My thoughts. I'm not sure. Not sure what to say about all that vampire stuff. I am a very horror-related person, but the kinds of horror that I'm not really interested in, which may seem weird, but vampires, werewolves, zombies, I don't know, that isn't something... Even though I did watch, oh gosh, I can't remember that series that was on TV, I can't remember it. Anyway, it was the vampires. Vampires and werewolves were in that movie, that series, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. It was a popular one. If you remember it, put it in the comments. Help me. You know when you get that one thing you can't remember and it just drives you insane trying to figure out what it was called? That's what's happening. So anyway, I printed off some reference photos I was showing you in the beginning. The actual 1960, you don't have to do that. The actual 1960 movie was in black and white by Alfred Hitchcock, but I believe someone had taken it upon themselves to do it in color. This is an actual picture of the actual house. I just wanted to get these as close as I could, but these are from the movie when it was put in color. So I had a kind of reference for her face, and had a reference. I have a reference for the sign and the house, so I'm going to go with that. I tried to type in for the Vanagon, the Volkswagen bus, and they didn't really, nothing came up with this specific bus. I mean, it has to be in this picture for a reason. Anyway, I might even have to watch the movie, even though it's in black and white. It's the color that they had for this was like a mint green, and this is the closest I have in my Prismacolors to the color of the Vanagon, you know, green and white. And looks like the house is gray with brownish at the top, like a brownish gray at the top. So we'll work with that. I have most of my grades out here to look through. And I think I have the other color chart. Yeah, that has most of the grades on. Sorry about my voice still. So I'm going to work on the sign right now. There's a lot of little things. This is one of my favorite books to color in. This book is so funny because I'll do a quick flip through before we end of some of the pages I've already done in this book, but also I think this is the one where it said backwards records. It's like they take a popular record and then they do a twist on it with a horror movie. So that's and I don't know what this was supposed to be a record for, but I'll have to show you all you'll understand once I show you the pictures. So I'm going to work on the sign for now. So, which is probably going to be a little difficult, basically because it is a light up sign. I'm not very talented enough to make it look lit up, so I tried to get the colors that were the closest to the red neon sign from back there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out of all this. We'll work on that sign. I think I will, depending on how much time we've used up, just work on the sign. And then we can get back to this one. I could do some more on this on Terrifying Tuesday if I don't do a lot tonight. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to use this like orangish color because it is bright. What I should use is like the neon. And wouldn't you know, the neon is right here. But it's like, I'm going to show you. It's like too orange, I think. Too orange for the sign. So I'll stick to this one. And we'll work on that. And I'll do the outer part of that. If anybody has any ideas on how to actually color these neon signs. Oh, look at that. I lost my point. I didn't get the point. This is going to be fun. Still haven't gotten that special sharpener to use yet. One of these days we'll get there. Make do with what you got, like I always say. But yeah, I remember watching this show, watching this movie. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but I grew up where there was this. I remember there were like on Saturdays there was like a block of horror movies that you could watch, and well, my mom was into Stephen King and such, so that should tell you something about my childhood. Anyway, she was okay with me watching horror movies because she sort of liked them herself, so it was like no big deal to let me check out. I mean, today it's probably like no way, my kid's gonna watch a horror movie. But you know what? If you tell the kids it's just a movie, I mean, it's just. Anyway, I didn't grow up being marred from watching or traumatized from watching horror movies. Believe me, it's a frame of mind, and you got to be able to explain those things. If you don't explain them right, or if you just don't like them and you just don't want them to watch them, well, I guess that's your preference. But I'm just saying. Anyway, I watched this one, and I watched the classic The Birds. That was a freaky movie. But my very first movie that I watched was Creature from the Black Lagoon. When that came on, that was like the first time I watched when they had this block of horror movies on a Saturday that you could watch. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't even know why I'm fascinated by that movie, but it's just, there are a lot of things that were, you gotta remember, these movies were back in the 50s and 60s, and I don't really, for me, liking that movie so much, I can't remember what year it was filmed, but it was back in the day. And you gotta think, when they did these things, they didn't have the technology we have today, and the equipment and stuff. And so you think about it, they I'm trying to look at the picture, and they had the air tanks and stuff, and the guy somebody did a news type of thing on it, where they explained how long the guy could be underwater because of the old time air tanks, and they had more than one person actually be the creature. Then he had to wait underwater all that time to do his appearances. So yeah, I believe, yeah, there was actually two separate stunt guys that did that. So they had that costume on, and the old heavy duty air tanks. So you can imagine how much time and money was spent on that movie. Because how do it had to take a couple takes, and knowing how much time you had on your air, and I just can't imagine. But you don't think of that when you're looking, when you're when you're watching the movie. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna try to get those two. I shouldn't have colored in at the B, but that'll look all right. And then the vacancy doesn't look like I guess vacancy, the no vacancy. I don't think they used it that much in the movie because he wanted the people to come in. So, sorry, I'm still having issues with my voice. So, okay, now the outside here, this part looks like it's like a maroonish reddish brown type. So I think I picked 1095, which is this color. I'm going to do all this shading back here and around, and then we'll do another color for the rest of the sign itself. And so yeah, but another movie, this is a movie that, now I like horror movies, and I never forced my kids to watch horror movies. I mean, if they liked them, they liked them. If they didn't, I didn't say, hey, you gotta watch this. You have to sit down. If mommy likes it, you have to like it. None of that crap. And the one movie that freaked them out. I think it freaked my daughter out more than it did my son, but the movie was The Fog.
Mm.
If any of you had seen that movie, oh my goodness. That was just, can't imagine it, but I believe, I'm not sure if that was a Stephen King movie or not, basically, because most of those kind of movies were based in Maine. And yeah, that one was a real horrible, horrible. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to try to look at this now. You're gonna have to bear with me because my pencils took a nosedive while I was talking, and they kind of got jumbled in the mess. So we did this for the outline and the heavy, the shading area. So what I want to do is come up with maybe the 937, and if I get lucky, I will. Would you look at that? I found it just like that. That's awesome. So this is how I have them in my, I have a big case. I mean, I can't really show you the whole thing, but here's a big box. And I keep them in there, and I keep them in their trays, and I keep them in this order, so it's easier for me to find them when I'm looking at my chart. So we'll do this part now, and I'll just work my way out.
Talking about horror movies.
You have to talk louder, I think.
Did you see a lot of them at the theater, or like kids today see stuff on TV? You know, like Friday the 13th and Michael Myers and those kind of shows. Did you see them at the theater?
No.
See,
I saw everything. I don't know that I saw. That's kind of ironic for me because I am so into. Here, you know what? Let me take this out so that you can hear him also. Hold on. Okay, now you probably can hear us both a little better. We'll just talk a little louder. I did not see. I don't remember if I should have remembered if I saw any in the movie theater, but no, I don't think I ever saw any in the movie theater. But loved, 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 loved renting, going to like, not a Blockbuster. In town here we had a video store where you could go in and rent. When the VCRs first came out, oh my gosh, I saved up my money from working and bought a VCR for our house. My parents were like, "What is that?" You know, it's they were oblivious to the whole VCR deal. So yeah, I lived in a time where VCR was new, a microwave was new, those kind of things. Computers were new. Yeah, the dial-up networks where you would hear it dialing to get you on a network. So yeah, but back to the horror movies. Yes, that I was never. I don't remember ever going to a movie to see one.
See, my mother was, she was pretty cool, I guess, in that way. She took me took me and my friends, and we went and saw Friday 13th and Michael Myers all at the theater, and the also the Jaws. I got to see all the Jaws.
Oh, Jaws! I did see in the theater.
But back in those days, you could watch. I remember when 3D came out. You get the 3D glasses, and you could go to the theater. You go to the theater. They give you a pair of glasses, and I saw Friday the 13th, part three. I don't remember which one it was, but it was 3D, and that was, oh my goodness. I can remember that was the coolest thing. And kids don't get to experience that stuff anymore today. How many kids get to say they watched a 3D movie other than those little things they put on their heads nowadays, whatever?
Those virtual.
Yeah, well, that's not 3D though.
Oh, man, I'm missing my blending tool. I use blending pencils. Found them too. I'm not doing too bad today. I'm not holding you guys up too much. But I use a blending pencil when it comes to, you see how light I did that? Now I'm going to show you the magic of this. You see how that brings it? I am so sorry. My camera is about ready to fall out of the holder. And you guys are down to see me here. So let me hold that up there. I'm sorry if you fall out. Okay, yeah. See, when I do this, it blends it in. It like burnishes it into the and spreads it and just makes it darker. And that's what I do sometimes when I'm doing certain books. Is I'll go in and I'll put a layer in, but I won't do it really dark because I know if I do this, it'll bring it out. And so when I come to the side here where it's really dark, I'll just push it out. I take it and I go in there and I do circular motions and I just push it out to the edge there like that. Now I'll bring the dark part out, the shaded part.
I think I may have told you this story, but I was born on Friday the 13th, and I can remember when how your birthdays always fall different on different days, but when it fell on the 13th, Friday the 13th, I was actually turning 13. So I remember the year that I was turning 13 on Friday the 13th. I thought something really bad was going to happen. Nothing happened, except another year.
Speaking of birthdays, the weird thing was my kids are 5 years apart. So when one was turning 16, which is a milestone age, the other one was turning 21, another milestone age. Milestone age. And it was in the same year that they would be hitting their milestone ages. It was fun that year. To get to share that with you, and they both of them having milestone years was awesome because it was, back then it was like there was no favoritism, nothing like that between the siblings, and at least I tried, and that just was just fun. And I'm gonna go around the lettering here a little bit and see if that gets just a little bit darker in between there. So it stands out. Yes, I use these a lot. Can't you tell? Look at my little nubby.
Yeah, those are good. I like using those too.
Yeah, there are so many different things that I've never used before. Back in the day when I first started this coloring journey, I used their trick of you blended using what was it called? Baby oil.
Mm-hmm.
And
Q-tip.
yeah, Q-tip and baby oil and using all that kind of. That was your magic moment when you used that, and it blended your colors, but it also stained the paper. Yeah, so you always had like oil. You flip it over, there was oil on the other side. It was just a mess. I didn't really get too much done here. This is because I don't want to rush on this. I'm going to basically just show you some of the other pages that I did in this book so far to explain this whole book, like I said in the beginning. And we'll do it as soon as I can get everything out of the way before everything goes on the floor. Put it all behind me. And I'll go through the book, and it's pretty interesting. And the way I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom you out so you guys can get the full effect of the book here. All right. Let me get this out here too. And these, keep in the book. So I have them. And here we go. Now this book, he has other books too. Alan Roberts, The Beauty of Horror. I actually got this book at Walmart. This was awesome. There was the title page. That was an experience. I really don't like that title page. This page, there was a writing under here. I took white acrylic paint, drew these guys on here dancing, and then we have this that I colored too. The photograph, and this is like this book belongs to page that I colored. I hand drew the musical note things along here, so that was different. And it says hand drawn music notes and skulls. Well, I don't know where the skulls are that I hand drew on here. Okay, moving on. So these are all things to be colored. So here's the record shop. Zombies are having fun at the record shop, going to get the records. But here we go. Born in the U.S. Decay, Bruce Springsteen. Now you know that's Bruce Springsteen. But like I said, this is all a spoof on him. Red Rum. Danny Torrance and the Overlook. This is a Prince one. This would be probably like, I don't know if it's a Purple Rain spoof or Little Red Corvette spoof. Okay, this one just is a page that he has for Hannibal Lecter's Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal in Chains, it says. Yeah, so that's a spoof instead of Alice in Chains. This one's Madonna's Malaria Like a Vampire instead of Like a Virgin. This one's The Crash, Lucifer Calling. In the back, he has everything listed. This is, I can't remember her name. That little lady there. Guliana, that's her name. This is Guliana. She's the main girl in this book. This is Cyndi Lauper's. It's called Cyndi Leper. She's So Contagious. And Zombie is a DJ. Clockwork, The Four Drogues, Alex, Dim, Pete, and Georgie. I don't remember what this group is. It might be Men at Work. Iron McDonald instead of Iron Maiden. McKiller McDonald's. And then there's the Killer Clown with his Killer Big Mac. DWA, Straight Outta Coffins, Parental Advisory, Explicit Content. Goodbye Camp, Crystal Lake. It's probably like John Mellencamp. Voorhees. Okay, and this is a backwards record, double spread. Guliana, Never Kind. I'm not sure what that, I can't think of that off the top of the head. Here's Bleak, instead of Blink 182, it's Bleak 182. Haunted Houses instead of Little Pink Houses, Butch DeFeo. I believe he was the guy from Amityville Horror, so the one who killed his family. John Lennon, and it's a John Nada, Kick Ass and Chew Bubblegum. Okay, here's the double spread I did with the RCA Victor dog. This one's the Monkeys. Who doesn't know the Monkeys? It's called The Damn Dirty Apes. Forbidden Zone. I remember watching them. Zombie, Eat the Human Meat. That's Rob Zombie. That's a page I did. I hope you can see that without the glare. The Strangers Experience. I can't even read that. Are you ready to die? I don't know what that's a reference to. Here is Cenobites Apart, Red Tear, Hot Your, Chill Soul. I have no idea what that is, but it's Pinhead. There's a vampire one. What's Going On After Dark? Martin Slay instead of Marvin Gaye. Couldn't think of his name. Freddy, which is probably Teenage Dream Warriors or Freddy Krueger. Cho-Chos instead of the Go-Go's. Sydney and the Scream. Jack Torrance from The Shining. It's that something. Somebody tells a story, but I can't read that name. Oh, the caretaker tells a story. Remember when he was in The Shining, and he always go to the bar, and the guy behind the bar would talk to him and give him drinks. That's the caretaker. Now look at this one. You guys remember what these are? The spacers to put in the 45 so that they fit on your record player. And in the background they have the zombie faces. Here's Superfan. This was another Stephen King from the movie Misery. Breakfast at Annie's. This is instead of Breakfast at Tiffany's. So that's that one. I have no idea what this is. It's just a freaky page. Van Helsing, Montrose instead of Van Halen. Moon Trance. And this one's Priesty Boys instead of Beastie Boys. Spin Your Head. Dracula. And then there's that one. I don't know what that's about. I can't remember what that would be about. Here's Ghouliana having fun with all the records in the record store. Then we have Mr. Babadook, Amelia's Restaurant. I can't remember what that would be. My grandson would love this one. The shark. Okay. This is probably Devil. I have no idea what that says up there. FIENDOFCHOICE. Choice. Fiend of Choice. Man, that was horrible. I always thought they were like Lego heads when I'd see them. Come Haunt with Me, Frank Sinatra. With Crooked Man and His Orchestra. Van Halen, Valhalla,
Dahmer.
Citadel Sigs, Ride Eternal, Milwaukee Monster Driller instead of Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, I thought that was Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, that is Jeffrey Dahmer, but it's a spoof from Michael Jackson's Thriller, Milwaukee Monster Driller. And then, sorry about that one. Life of Ash, Book of the Dead, Lunatic Fringe, maybe, Chill and Fear, Carrie, White, Me, Fiesta. You know, Carrie. Probably Great White. I don't know. My Party. Grabber Phone, It's For You. Sam, Trick or Treat. Vampire Snack Interviews. Perfect. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say that word. First, again, it's ORGANISM. You can say that if you'd like. I'm not saying that word. Okay, Hex, Year of the Wolf, again. And this one's Tiffany from Here You Kill Again, Valentine. Tiffany Valentine from Chucky. And this is it's Ring. The Ring movie. Instead of ACDC, RING. blow up your videotape. And here's Meet the Creepers instead of Meet the Fockers, I guess. I don't know. The first album by the phenomenal Undead Combo. Meet the something. Maybe if somebody, I can't remember who they were. Here's some zombies buying records. And Puppet Master. Terror in the Attic. And I believe this is Aerosmith, but I can't remember. 50,000 Halloween fans, can't be wrong. The Shapes Gold Records Volume 2. A killer such as I need your blood tonight. Wear my hands around your neck. Don't you think it's time to die? I beg you not to run. A big hunk of death. Don't scream. My sick wish came true. One night you'll die, and you got stabbed. It's a Michael record. And then Skull Notes. And then the Harga Elders, May Queen and the Infinite Sacrifices. This is Roll Over and Roll Over will roll over. Dead will roll over. This is Kiss. It's supposed to be a kiss. Instead it's Kill. Lost Rebel Yell, Billy Idol. Clowns, Demon Ways. I'm not sure, but I colored that one. Let's see. Guliana, where you can draw your own thing. You draw your own thing here, create your own. This next page I created my own Guns N' Roses for War and When Doves Cry for Peace for challenge. And here you can just test out your colors. And then we have in the back here, he says what they all are. And here it has all the names of who they're really supposed to be, their actual artists and their song, and then it's all the other ones. Well, I hope you like that. Hope you like the stories, and we'll be doing more of this one. I'd like to get this one done. If I don't get this one done this weekend, I will continue it on Terrifying Tuesday. If not, we will be diving into another creepy looking page. Thanks so much for stopping by. Please give me a thumbs up, and let me know if you like this kind of series, because it is kind of interesting with little stories and a little background and then coloring too. And it helps me get some of the ones that I wanted to do in that month done. Please stay happy, stay healthy, stay creative, stay colorful, stay creepy, why not? And stay tuned for the next video. And please subscribe if you haven't, and thank you if you already have. Bye-bye for now.